All right, so today we're going to talk about Yoga Sutra 116. And as I was preparing and rereading the sutra, I was like, oh, this is the sutra. But I also kind of feel like every time I read one of these, I'm like, oh, this is the sutra. This is the one. But I just think there's so much in here that I'm going to have to restrain myself from talking the whole 25 minutes we have together, and just let us actually do our practice. But I do want to start with just reading it as it's written in our text from Swami Satchidananda, and sharing a couple things, and then getting a little bit of input from you guys. Okay, so this sutra says in English, when there is non-thirst for even the gunas, due to the realization of the true self, that is supreme non-attachment. So we haven't actually gotten into like a detailed explanation of the gunas yet, so I'm not gonna go there. We haven't really talked about Purusha either very much in depth, but suffice it to say that that's the true self. So we have a false self, and we have a true self. And what he's saying here is when we stop thirsting for, I'll call it the physical world, because we realize our true self, that's the ultimate version of non-attachment. Last week, we talked about how non-attachment is not attaching to the physical things that we've experienced in the past. So we find pleasure in, well, he uses an example here of smoking and drinking. And then we start practicing yoga and we give those up. But every once in a while, we're like, oh yeah, I remember how lovely that was. Or whatever your version of that is. And so he's saying there's another kind of non-attachment where we're not even remembering or getting kind of caught in that remembrance of what we once enjoyed, that it's just pure non-attachment. So on page 29, he says, if that supreme non-attachment comes even once, even for a second, you experience that joy. That's why we try to sit for a while in meditation every day. If we get even a glimpse of that, we will not try to go here and there to taste other things. You will not want to lose any opportunity to sit and enjoy that peace. And if you slowly get rooted in it, you can allow your hands and even your mind to work, but you will always be in peace. In Hindi, there's a saying, Man me Ram, hath me kam. Literally, it means, in the mind, Ram, in the hand, work. Or it could be said more clearly as, keep the heart in God and the head in the world. If you know how to put your heart in God, you can rest there always and still play in the world. It will no longer be a hell to you, but a beautiful playground. So he's saying our practice, if we're persistent, will bring us to this place where we understand our true self. That sounds like a pretty good reason to practice to me. If the supreme non-attachment comes even once, even for a second, you experience that joy. And I guess what I'd like to open up right here is, if anybody feels like they've felt that supreme joy, even for a moment, I'd love to hear about your experience of that. All right, I'll share one that I've had. because I think sometimes we think that this idea of samadhi is like otherworldly. My experience is different, and from listening to my teachers over the years, Jack Kornfield and some of the others I've studied with, it's not like angels singing. I remember twice when I was living in California, I had an experience like this. One was early morning. I had just awakened, and I was in downtown Redlands, California. And I walked out of this building, and I was under an overpass, like the I-10 freeway that goes from California all the way to Florida. And there was a Jack in the Box fast food restaurant, like over to the right. I could see both in my line of vision. And somehow in that environment, I remember looking up and thinking, wow, the world is beautiful. Like I had this experience of feeling the beauty of the world and feeling connected to, I'll call it my higher power. Just standing there under an overpass next to a Jack in the Box in California. And I was experiencing this kind of awe feeling. And I was like in it. And then I looked around and I just started laughing. I was like, did that just happen? Did I just like stand under all this traffic and next to like a place that makes fast food burgers and feel connected to something bigger than me? And I was like, like, wow, that was kind of awesome. And it was relatively fleeting. And, I got in my car and went and did what I needed to do for the day. But it's stuck with me, and I've remembered that moment my whole life. And then I had a second one once on my way to work. I would ride my bike down a hill. And in Redlands, the streets are lined with palm trees. And it was dawn, and there were no cars on the road. And this one is like more of an obvious one of those moments. But I remember feeling the breeze on my body and riding down the street and seeing the whole world as being beautiful. Just like this feeling of, I can't describe it in words, but immense connection to the beauty of the world. And so those are two moments where I felt what I think is described here is the supreme joy or non-attachment to all the things. Like even in that day when I was riding my bike down, I was going in to solve a problem. I was on a project that was underwater and just really challenging. But that wasn't my experience in that moment. Like most of my days before that were really consumed by all of the problems I was dealing with at work. And in that moment, they weren't present for me. It was like freedom from that. So having shared that as one of these moments of supreme joy, does anybody have another experience like that you want to share before we practice? All right, well, keep your radar on because these moments are out there. And you might not recognize them. I don't know. You might be like, oh, whatever, that was weird. But I don't know. Little moments here and there. And what he says on this page that I read already is, that's why we try to sit for a while in meditation every day. So we're opening ourselves up to an awareness that we don't have when we're busy by being still. And it might just be awareness of our breath, and that's where we're going to start this morning. It might be awareness of something else. TBD, but every day you get a chance for that something else if you have a practice. All right, so let's do the practice. I'm going to invite each of you to just sit upright, grounded. So I've got my legs crossed. I'm going to uncross them and plant both feet. And then close your eyes. Take a deeper breath, sort of a clearing of the energy and the thoughts up until this moment. And then resting your attention on your everyday breath. So not needing to change your breath or anything else. Just noticing what's right here. It helps me to notice the physical experience of my breath. So tapping into something tangible, like the feeling of your breath in your nose, or the movement of your abdomen. As you sit and breathe, open your attention to your physical body and notice what's right here in your body. So any just messages coming from your body, tightness, tiredness, starting to be aware of what's right here. And today, just allow what's here. So not pushing it away or running after a different feeling. And start to cultivate a kind of non-attachment to the physical. As you get settled into your practice, hold lightly to your awareness of your breath. So if you're counting or it's really holding on tightly to that awareness, start to soften it. Allow it to be loosely held. recall a moment of, we'll call it extreme joy, like a feeling of a heart-opening joy. You can recall in your mind where you were and who you were with. Maybe the birth of a child or just a moment in nature. Get curious about that feeling of awe, the openness of it. Locate that feeling in your body. So is there a place in your body where you feel something? Just allow yourself to observe that feeling, just cultivating an awareness of that feeling of awe or connection. Without any sense of chasing the feeling, just being aware of the feeling. Get a sense of your sense of past and future in that moment. Perhaps there's no past and no future in that moment, just pure presence. No anticipation or regret, just what's right in the moment. Can you cultivate that for this moment right here? Just being right here in the present. Noticing just the pure okayness of this moment. Feel your feet or your legs. Notice your hands for a moment. Take a bigger breath. And one more nice big breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. What if meditation was this little gift of samadhi every day? Yeah, I was thinking about, sometimes they say take refuge in your practice, in your breath. And I think that's where we have to start. Life is full of difficulty and we need a way to get away from it, whatever it is. But I think if we practice long enough, it's less of a getting away from and it's a more of a moving toward, and then ultimately it's just what it is. Like you just sit, not because you're avoiding something or grasping at something, but it's just a natural way of being. And then hopefully it just starts to permeate our whole life. Right? You have a moment and you're like, oh, I'm just going to be right here, instead of filling it up with stuff. The next time you have to wait for something, what if you just use that moment to be in the present? Any thoughts, insights, shares? All right. Well, have a wonderful day full of many present moments.
Thank you. That was really lovely.
You're welcome. Hi, Alessio. This is one of those moments. I want that. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Full of joy.